It was a Thursday. Nothing dramatic, nothing stormy. Just another breath in the slow, predictable rhythm of suburban life. Coffee still hot on the counter, dog asleep in his corner, the smell of laundry detergent still faint in the hallway. That kind of day. I came home early from work. Not for any reason, just because I could. The house was silent. I walked into the kitchen, dropped my keys into the bowl like always, and opened the fridge. Same leftovers, same order. Nothing out of place. Nothing obvious. I was halfway down the hallway when I saw it. Not even something big. Just a book. My wife's therapy journal. She kept it religiously. One of those small, leather-bound ones she never let anyone touch. Said it was for her inner work, whatever that meant. Normally, it lived inside her nightstand, second drawer, tucked under a pile of old birthday cards. But here it was, sitting squarely in the middle of our living room armchair. Open, face down, pages slightly fanned like it had just been dropped. Not like her. Not even remotely. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. That wasn't the fracture. It was the pen beside it. A ballpoint. Nothing special. Except it was from a hotel in Santa Clara. A small, off-brand conference hotel. Silver lettering on black plastic. The Croft, Executive Center and Suites. I stared at it longer than made sense. The kind of looking where your eyes stop seeing and start processing instead. I'd never stayed there. She'd never mentioned it. We live over 300 miles away. And it wasn't new. The logo was slightly scratched, the clip bent inward like it had been hooked onto something for a while. She'd told me she didn't take that trip. That she bailed last minute on the yoga retreat because her friend Kim had a back issue and they canceled. I remember because I had taken the kids to their grandparents that weekend, given her space. A weekend to herself, she'd said. She looked me in the eye when she said it. Kissed me goodbye like it was all nothing. I remember now how she'd smiled that morning. Tired, grateful, relaxed. Not like someone lying. Like someone who knew how to lie. I stood there, in that breathless space between memory and deduction. The kind of moment that doesn't make noise, doesn't shout, doesn't accuse. It just sits there. A truth, plain and small and hideously sharp. I turned and looked toward the hallway. Her shoes were by the door. Her coat hung neatly on the rack. Everything screamed routine, screamed normal. Except that pen. That goddamn pen, whispering. There was nothing to do with it, nothing to say. I walked to the armchair and picked it up between two fingers like it might burn. I didn't open the journal. That wasn't the move. Not yet. This wasn't about a smoking gun. It was about the first draft of a new reality. One where my wife, the woman who talked about emotional alignment and chakra cleansing, had been in a Santa Clara hotel she swore she never visited, taking a pen she shouldn't have touched, dropping it on a journal she never let out of her hand. I didn't speak when she got home. She breezed in, humming, kicked off her flats, hugged me from behind like she always did. I stayed still and let her arms wrap around me. And all I could see was the way that pen had rested just slightly off-center, as if she'd dropped it in a rush. As if the moment it fell, her mind had been somewhere else entirely. She kissed my neck and told me she was starving. Asked what was for dinner. I said nothing, just turned and smiled, warm and practiced. Said, "You pick tonight." And she laughed, oblivious, peeling away toward the kitchen like it was just another Thursday. It wasn't. It was the day the light cracked. No confrontation. No scenes. Just the pen quietly pocketed and my mind already moving, already building the map. I didn't even know what I was planning, but I knew it had started. That thing that men don't talk about. How silence isn't peace, it's preparation. Later, I slid the journal back into her nightstand. Careful, respectful. Left the pen out, by her phone charger. A quiet test. A breadcrumb. She never mentioned it. Never asked. Never noticed. But I did. And that was enough. It's strange how love doesn't vanish all at once. It frays. Quietly. A single thread at a time. Until the fabric looks the same from a distance. But up close, it's just unraveling. That's what it became between us. The routines held. The conversations stayed light. She still kissed me goodbye in the mornings, still laughed at the kids' jokes at dinner. But something underneath was off. Like an actor hitting her marks without reading the script. A second too late to laugh. A smile that vanished the second you looked away. She was present, but never really with us. Like someone living parallel to our life, just close enough to fool the neighbors. It was little things at first. She started journaling outside, in the car, after the kids were asleep. I'd see the garage light on for 20 minutes, sometimes longer. She said she needed space, said the house was too noisy for introspection. I told myself that made sense. People change. People evolve. But she never used to need silence, to be honest. That was new. She locked her phone. Not just the lock screen, new apps, a different passcode. I noticed one night when I asked to check a recipe she saved. She took the phone from my hand before I could type a single letter. Smiled too hard. Said, "I'm trying not to be on my phone so much." Then set it face down beside her. Not off. Just face down. Always. She used to forget nothing. Birthdays, appointments, the name of our first dog, she remembered everything. But now she'd ask me twice about my meetings. Forgot to pack our son's lunch for his field trip, then swore she had. Told me she paid the water bill when the notice came in red. I started to wonder if it was stress, but stress usually comes with cracks. This felt too smooth. Like someone covering something slippery. And then the words started changing. I just need to focus on me. I've been doing some emotional recentering. You wouldn't understand. It's a boundary thing. That one hit harder than she meant it to. Because she used to say we were the only thing that did make sense. Now everything was about her journey. Her inner work. Her solitude. I asked once if she wanted to go away for a weekend. Just the two of us. And she laughed, not cruelly, just absently. Like I'd suggested something irrelevant. I watched it build, piece by piece, day by day. Her detachment was like a fog that only I could see. The kids didn't notice. She still sang in the kitchen when she made breakfast. Still danced with our daughter in the living room when old songs came on. But the music didn't touch her. Not really. Her body moved, but the light in her eyes had dimmed. Then came the almost. It was a Tuesday night. She said she had a late meeting for her mindfulness coaching group. Said she'd be home around 10. I nodded, said nothing. At 9, I was folding laundry when her iPad chimed. I wouldn't have looked, she never used it anymore, but the message preview lit the screen in a dark room. Just one word. Soon. No name. No context. Just that. And right below it, the app, some encrypted messaging platform I didn't recognize. Not iMessage. Not WhatsApp. Something else. I picked it up. The app demanded a face scan. Failed twice. Locked me out. I stared at the screen, the glowing word burning into my skull. Soon. Soon what? She came home at 10:07. Smelled like peppermint tea and clean clothes, like always. Kicked off her shoes, walked in humming some song I didn't know. I asked her how the session went. She said it was powerful. Said they discussed identity, letting go of old constructs. Then she kissed me. Soft. Distant. A performance with no audience. I watched her go upstairs, watched her plug in her phone and stretch like nothing in the world was wrong. She asked if I wanted tea. I said no. She didn't ask why. And that night, I laid in bed beside her and stared at the ceiling while she breathed softly. Back turned to me. I could feel the distance like a wall now. It wasn't imagined. It wasn't paranoia. It was real. Concrete. Growing. I didn't say a word. I didn't check the iPad again. I didn't ask what soon meant. Because I already knew. Not the details. Not the man. Not the schedule. But the truth. The shape of betrayal was already there, cast in the way her laughter hesitated, in the echo of my name spoken like an obligation. I knew. So I stopped guessing. I started watching. It was our son's school showcase night. One of those harmless little events where parents sit shoulder to shoulder on hard plastic chairs, watching kids stumble through dance routines and recycled poetry. We went together, like always. She wore that gray sweater I used to, and held my hand in the parking lot like nothing was wrong. Like we were still something solid. I let her. Even smiled for the receptionist when we checked in. Our son was buzzing, proud, hyper. It should have been one of those golden family nights you tuck away for bad days. But it wasn't. Because after the event, after the applause and handshakes and plastic cookies, we walked into the classroom where the kids had their little memory corners. Posters, drawings, notebooks. His had a folded construction paper card taped to the wall. My favorite person, it said, in thick green crayon. Innocent. Sweet. And beneath it, he'd written 3 sentences. My mom is really busy, but I love her. She has a special friend named Jay who helps her when she's sad. Sometimes she cries in the car, and then she smiles like nothing happened. I felt it like a needle sliding slow under my skin. Jay. I didn't know a Jay. She never mentioned a Jay. Not in any of her monologues about growth or boundaries or weekend self-healing. I read it again. Not fast, slow. Word by word. A child's confession without meaning to confess. I didn't look at her right away. I just stood there and felt the ground tilt beneath my feet, the way it does in dreams where you fall without moving. She laughed, nervously, said something like, "Kids say the weirdest things, right?" Too quick, too light. Her hand fluttered up to her neck like it always did when she lied. I turned to her then, and I saw it. Not fear, not guilt, panic, flashing behind her eyes, buried under the mask. The kind of panic that knows the end just stepped into the room. I said nothing, just nodded, smiled at the teacher, and turned back to the hallway. She followed, chatting about cupcakes, the traffic, the weather, any subject that wasn't Jay. She didn't ask if I believed her. She didn't ask what I thought, because she already knew, and I didn't need her to admit anything. That single paragraph from our son, innocent and devastating, had done what weeks of suspicion couldn't. It showed me the cracks not from my point of view, but from a child's. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd let her mask slip in front of our kids. She'd cried in the car where they could see. Brought this man into her orbit enough times for his name to land in a school project. She thought she was being careful. Thought her new life was hidden behind fake boundaries and late-night journal entries. But kids don't care about secrets. They just say what they see. And what he saw, what he wrote, was my confirmation. This wasn't distance. This wasn't emotional growth. This was filth seeping into our family's roots. And that was the moment I stopped being a husband. Stopped being a man hoping she'd snap out of whatever selfish phase she was in. I became something else entirely, silent, focused, surgical. I walked out of that school knowing what had to be done. No rage, no begging, no confrontation, just a plan forming with every step to the car. She kept talking, soft, hollow noise. I barely heard her, because I wasn't listening anymore. I was building. I was done playing the bewildered, betrayed man trying to fix a dying marriage. From this moment on, I was the quiet storm, and she had no idea the flood was coming. She thought it was dinner. Just dinner. A quiet Tuesday meal at her favorite little rustic Italian place, the one with the wood-fired bread and the fake candles in wine bottles. I let her pick it, told her I wanted to reconnect, told her I'd been thinking. She smiled like it was progress, like I was finally coming around. Wore a dress I hadn't seen in months. Did her hair the way I used to like. She looked hopeful, polished, practiced, but I wasn't here to forgive her. I was here to end the performance. We sat, ordered wine. She chatted about work, about some new client, about finding alignment again. I listened, watched the way her eyes flicked to her phone every few minutes. Always upside down, but never far from her hand. When the appetizers came, I asked her one question. Soft, neutral, almost boring. How's Jay? She froze for just half a breath. Not even a second. Just a twitch in the cheek, a blink too long. Then she smiled. Jay? Whose? She began, then paused again. Shifted in her seat. Wait, what do you mean? I didn't answer. Just took a sip of wine and waited. She laughed then. That light, dismissive laugh she used to brush away uncomfortable truths. Are you seriously going to throw accusations at me in the middle of a restaurant? She asked, voice rising just a notch. Eyes scanning the room like someone might be listening. God, I knew you were getting paranoid. I didn't accuse you of anything, I said calmly. I just asked how he is. Our son says he helps you when you're sad. Her face shifted again, confusion to anger, anger to calculation. You're interrogating me based on something a kid scribbled on a wall. He didn't scribble, I said. He told the truth. Because he doesn't know how to lie for you yet. She leaned in then, voice low, sharp. You're blowing things out of proportion. You always do this. You build narratives in your head and then act like they're facts. Maybe if you'd actually listened to me the past few years instead of just existing in the same house. I did listen, I cut in. I listened when you said you needed space. When you said it was about self-growth. When you said you were healing. I believed you when you said you skipped that retreat. I believed you when you said your phone was private because you needed boundaries. I believed every single thing. Until our son gave me a name you forgot to scrub from your little act. She exhaled sharply, her hands tightening around the napkin. You're twisting everything. Jay is a friend. He's helped me through a lot. Emotionally. Platonically. Do you cry in the car with all your platonic friends? She flinched at that. A real one this time. You don't know what I've been dealing with, she snapped. I've been carrying this family while you shut down emotionally. You're so cold. So checked out. Do you even realize how hard it's been for me to keep pretending everything's okay? You didn't pretend, I said, voice flat. You just replaced me before I even knew I was gone. You're not perfect, she said, pushing forward now, her voice tight with self-righteousness. You think you're some kind of martyr, but you've been absent for years. Distant. Boring. I needed more than what you gave. And I waited. I waited for you to show up. I was there, I said. Every night. Every holiday. Every damn school event. I was there when you said you were healing. When you said you needed solitude, I gave it. When you cried, I held you. When you drifted, I anchored. And while I was doing that, you let someone else into the cracks. You didn't just cheat on me, you recruited our son into your fantasy world without even realizing it. You think you're evolving? You're disintegrating. She looked around again, realized people were starting to notice. Her voice dropped to a whisper, but her hands were trembling now. Why are you doing this here? Because this is where you feel safest, I said. In public. Where you think you can control the narrative. Where you think I'll back down to keep the peace. But there is no peace left, and I'm done giving you soft exits. Tears welled up then. Real ones, maybe. Or well-timed. But I didn't move. Didn't reach. Just stared. I made mistakes, she whispered. But I never wanted to hurt you. You didn't hurt me, I said. You dismantled yourself. I just watched. And now, so does everyone else. She tried to speak again, but nothing came. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Eyes darting, throat tightening. The confident woman who walked in tonight, the one who thought she could spin this, deflect it, tame it, was gone. All that was left was the collapse. I didn't stand. I didn't storm out. I just sat back in my chair and watched the fire she lit finally reach her. And that was enough. She followed me out into the parking lot, heels tapping faster than she could think, voice raised just enough to draw stares but not enough to feel like a scene, at least not to her. I kept walking. Calm. Slow. Controlled. But she caught up, grabbed my arm with trembling fingers and forced herself between me and the driver's side door. Her eyes were red now, makeup cracked at the corners, and the soft, even voice she'd practiced for years was gone. You're overreacting, she said, too fast, too loud. You've blown one stupid thing into a disaster, and now you're trying to act like I'm some kind of monster. I looked at her, silent. We can fix this, she said, softer now. You're angry, I get it, but we can talk. Please, just talk to me. This doesn't have to be the end. I opened the door without speaking. She stepped in front again. So that's it, she hissed. You're just going to walk away like you're the victim? You think you're perfect? You're not. You were never present. You stopped being a husband long before I ever looked at someone else. You shut me out. I had to find comfort somewhere. I finally met her eyes. So you brought it home? I asked. You let our son sit in the passenger seat while you cried about another man? You couldn't keep your lies away from the one person who still believed in you. She blinked, stumbled a step back like she wasn't expecting that angle, like the weapon I chose wasn't fair. He doesn't understand, she said, voice cracking. He just saw me sad. That's all. Kids forget. He'll forget. I shook my head once. No, I said. He won't. And one day, when he's older, he'll remember the name Jay, and he'll remember how it made you lie without blinking. You didn't just betray me. You left a fingerprint on his memory you'll never erase. Her face twisted, part shame, part desperation, but she pivoted again. You think you'll be better off without me? You'll never find someone who understands you like I did. Who put up with your moods, your distance, your cold routines. I held this family together. Me. I leaned in slightly. You didn't hold it together. You painted over the cracks while you were drilling holes behind my back. She opened her mouth, then closed it, hands now wringing the napkin she'd carried all the way from the table, like some pathetic white flag. I was hurting. She tried again. You don't know what that feels like, to be unseen for so long. I nodded slowly. Yes, I do. I lived it. The difference is I didn't go searching for a witness in another man's bed. I stayed. I waited. I gave you space. And all you filled it with was another version of yourself you didn't even have the decency to protect our children from. Her voice dropped into a plead now, fingers on my chest, desperate for physical connection. Please. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll cut him off. I swear. I stepped back, and the loss of contact hit her harder than the words. You think this is about him? I said, flat. Jay didn't ruin us. You did. You brought him into our story. You made our child the witness. You walked around smiling while planting landmines in our lives, and now you want credit for being sorry. Tears streamed now, messy, unfiltered, ugly. Her mascara had bled, her lips trembled, her posture caved inward. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't want to lose everything. I felt so empty, and then you should have talked, I said. To me, the man who built this life with you. Instead, you chose comfort over character, secrecy over honesty. A name our son can't write. You didn't just fall, you planned the fall, and you smiled through it. She gasped, hands raised like I'd struck her, but I didn't move. I just watched her unravel, each lie draining from her like blood from a wound she couldn't bandage. People were watching now. A waiter from the restaurant standing by the door. A couple pretending not to stare from across the lot. I said nothing else. Just walked around to the driver's side, opened the door, and sat. She stood there, shaking, sobbing now, arms around herself like she could hold in what was spilling out. But I didn't reach for her. I didn't comfort her. Because this was her doing. She didn't just lose me. She lost the right to claim victimhood. And as I shut the door, the silence that followed was louder than anything she'd said. It didn't happen all at once, but it happened fast enough to feel like gravity. After that night, she tried to act composed, posted filtered photos of sunsets and smoothies, quotes about healing and growth. But the cracks showed. Jay ghosted her within weeks. Maybe he got tired of her emotional spirals, or maybe he realized he'd never been anything more than an escape hatch she didn't bother to close. Her friends, the ones who used to flood her with likes and "you go girl" comments, stopped replying. One by one. Some blocked her outright. Her sister, who'd always taken her side during every argument, quietly removed her from the family group chat. The mindfulness brand she worked with dropped her when whispers started surfacing. She tried to fight it, called it gossip, weaponized privacy, but it didn't matter. People know. People feel it. There's a stench to someone who betrays their own children's trust. And that's what really broke her. It wasn't the divorce, the apartment downgrade, or the way she had to beg her boss to keep her on part-time. It was the way our son stopped asking about her. The way our daughter, once glued to her hip, now spoke of her like a teacher she used to have. She came by one day, unannounced, standing at the end of the driveway with a grocery bag of old toys and a photo album like she was returning borrowed time. She didn't ring the bell. Just waited, eyes glassy, body smaller somehow. I watched from the window. Didn't move. After a while, she left it all on the porch. That night, she sent a message. I still love you. We were soulmates. Please, just talk to me. I didn't reply. She sent another the next day. Then one a week later. Each one thinner, more brittle. The last one just said, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I miss who we were. I read them all. Never answered. Because I didn't feel hate anymore. I didn't feel anything. When I saw her name flash on the screen, it wasn't anger, it was detachment. Like seeing a contact you forgot to delete. She wasn't my wife. She wasn't even my ex-wife. She was a stranger who shared some memories and left fingerprints on my children's heartbreak. That's all. And strangers don't get second chances. They don't get explanations. They just fade. I saw her one more time months later. At the grocery store. Her eyes caught mine, and I saw the reflex twitch in her shoulders, the half-step forward before she froze. She didn't speak. Didn't smile. Just stood there, holding a basket of almond milk and frozen dinners, pretending not to fall apart. I nodded once. Civil, distant. She nodded back, lower, like apology in motion. And that was it. The last scene. The final page of her story and mine. She broke something she could never rebuild. Not just trust. Not just love. Identity. Family. The very thing she claimed to be nurturing while she was poisoning it behind closed doors. And now she lives with it, quiet, invisible, unwanted in all the spaces where she once ruled. That's the part they never think about, the silence after the storm. The way you walk through the ashes and realize no one's there to help you pick up the pieces because you burned every hand that tried. That's her world now. I've rebuilt mine. Slowly. Deliberately. My kids are safe. My home is quiet. And I sleep like a man who knows he didn't fold. He adapted. He overcame. He watched the woman he loved become a stranger. And let her stay that way. Thanks for listening. Let me know where you're watching from, and what you would have done if it were your wife.